What are the security guidelines for Azure Blob Storage? Securing Azure Storage is crucial for protecting your data, ensuring compliance, and maintaining the trust of your customers and stakeholders. Here is a detailed security guideline for Azure Storage, including specific security controls and best practices. Authentication and authorization. Azure AD integration. Integrate Azure Storage with Azure Active Directory, Azure AD, for centralized user authentication and role-based access control, RBC. This allows you to assign specific permissions to users and groups. Role-based access control, RBC. Use Azure RBC to grant permissions at the subscription, resource group, and storage account levels. Assign roles like Storage Blob Data Contributor or Storage Queue Data Contributor to limit access to specific resources. Data encryption. Encryption at rest. Azure Storage provides encryption at rest by default using Microsoft Managed Keys. Consider using customer managed keys with Azure Key Vault for added control. Encryption in transit. Ensure data is encrypted in transit by using HTTPS for all communication with Azure Storage services. Secure access. Shared access signatures. SAS. Generate SAS tokens with the least privilege required, specifying permissions, and an expiration time. This provides temporary, limited access to your storage resources. Azure Storage firewalls in virtual networks. Restrict access to your storage accounts by configuring network rules and firewall rules. This can help whitelist specific IP addresses or IP ranges. Network security. Azure VNet integration. Place your Azure Storage accounts within a virtual network, VNet, to restrict access and allow traffic only from specific VNets or on-premises networks. Private endpoints. Use private endpoints to access Azure Storage over a private network connection, eliminating exposure to the public internet. Monitoring and auditing. Azure Monitor. Set up Azure Monitor to capture metrics, logs, and alerts related to your storage accounts. Create custom alerts for suspicious activity. Azure Security Center. Enable Azure Security Center to continuously assess and monitor the security of your storage accounts. It provides recommendations and threat detection capabilities. Data classification and retention. Azure Information Protection. Classify and label sensitive data using Azure Information Protection to ensure proper handling and access control. Data retention policies. Implement data retention policies to automatically delete or archive data when it's no longer needed, helping you comply with regulatory requirements. Data Lifecycle Management. Blob Lifecycle Management. Leverage Azure Blob Storage's built-in lifecycle management policies to automate data movement, deletion, or archiving based on defined rules. Backup and disaster recovery. Geo-redundancy. Enable geo-redundant storage, GRS, for data replication to a secondary Azure region to ensure data availability in case of a regional outage. Azure Backup. Implement regular backups of your storage data using Azure Backup Services for point-in-time recovery. Identity and Access Management, IAM. Service Principals and Managed Identities. Use service principals and managed identities for applications to securely access Azure Storage without exposing storage account keys. Azure AD Authentication. Enable Azure AD-based authentication for your storage accounts to leverage Azure AD's advanced security features. Vulnerability scanning and penetration testing. Conduct regular vulnerability scans and penetration tests on your storage accounts to identify and remediate security weaknesses. Ensure that these tests are performed safely and within the guidelines of Azure security policies. Incident response and recovery. Develop a comprehensive incident response plan to detect, respond to, and recover from security incidents involving Azure Storage. Test the plan regularly to ensure effectiveness. Enable Microsoft Defender for all of your storage accounts. Microsoft Defender for Storage provides an additional layer of security intelligence that detects unusual and potentially harmful attempts to access or exploit storage accounts. Security alerts are triggered in Microsoft Defender for Cloud when anomalies in activity occur. Compliance and regulatory requirements. Understand and adhere to industry-specific compliance standards such as GDPR, HIPAA, or SOC 2 when storing sensitive data in Azure Storage. Azure provides compliance documentation and audit reports to assist with these requirements. Documentation and training. Maintain up-to-date documentation of your security policies, procedures, and configurations. Provide regular training to staff and stakeholders on Azure Storage security best practices. Lock storage account to prevent accidental or malicious deletion or configuration changes. Apply an Azure Resource Manager lock to your storage account to protect the account from accidental or malicious deletion or configuration change. Regular security audits. Conduct periodic security audits and assessments of your Azure Storage resources to identify and address potential security gaps and vulnerabilities. Store business-critical data in immutable blobs. Configure legal holds and time-based retention policies to store blob data in a worm, write once, read many state. Blobs stored immutably can be read, but cannot be modified or deleted for the duration of the retention interval. By following these comprehensive security guidelines and continuously monitoring and updating your security measures, you can enhance the security of your Azure Storage resources and protect your data from potential threats and breaches.
Hey, if you like the content, please subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a bite of Azure brilliance.